Welcome, everyone. I'm Barbara Call, Senior Director of Content Strategy at CIO Marketing Services. I'll be your host and moderator for today's webcast titled HCL Builds Digital Foundation for Innovation and Improved Experiences, and brought to you by CIO and HCLSoftware with a guest speaker from IDC. I have two speakers with me today. First up is Craig Powers, Research Director, Worldwide Digital Business Strategies at IDC. Welcome, Craig. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Barbara. Yeah, I run the digital business research at IDC. I have about a decade of experience in the enterprise software community. Really excited to hear about HCL's digital journey today.
All right, great. Nice to have you. And my second speaker is Steve Padgett, CIO at HCLSoftware. Welcome, Steve. Tell us a little bit about yourself and also HCLSoftware.
Sure. I've been HCL's CIO now for not very long now, about 3 months. I came from a company named Actian Software. It's an acquisition that HCL made. We've been on a digital transformation journey for a long period of time now, and we're kind of in the middle of it. We still have a ways to go. And I've been in IT management for over 30 years. So I've been in various different roles as CIO for various companies.
All right. Nice to have you. And now I'll hand things over to Craig to kick us off.
Thank you, Barbara. And Steve, before we got started in this conversation, I wanted to set the stage of what digital investment looks like right now worldwide and kind of see where HCL is along that journey as well. Now what I've seen is now digital is where growth is happening in technology investment. Companies are growing their digital spend. They're kind of stagnating or spending less on traditional tech spend. Now, where does that align for you? How do you feel HCL is along that?
Very strong alignment. I mean, we've spent a lot of time and energy setting baselines and getting kind of the pieces of the puzzle in place. So most of our investment today is in digital transformation. We're trying to move the needle forward, spending a lot of time and energy on customer experience particularly, but also on employee experience, trying to make the technologies and the tools that we use within the business work really well and transform the day-to-day and week-to-week activity of both our customers and our employees.
That really aligns with what we're seeing with a lot of the top companies that are moving to digital. I've seen that in our research, our very fresh research that I just got back last month, that most companies next year plan to either maintain or accelerate their digital technology investment. So those companies that aren't doing that are going to fall behind. But the companies that are accelerating their investment in digital tech, those are the companies that are setting themselves up for success and building that digital platform that you need to build these experiences you're talking about. So how is HCL moving to this digital business era, and what's driving HCL to do that?
I mean, it's being demanded by our customers. I think the consumerization of IT has played a large role in that, everyone expects the experience you have when dealing with a software vendor to be very similar to how you deal with, working on your iPhone or on your computer. They don't expect it to be this, rigorous kind of process where, you have to check all the boxes and that. They want something that's easy, that's customized to their needs, that understands where they are in the journey and what's going on. I mean, you don't want to have a customer come in and let's say, they're up for renewal for their software contract and they come in and you just present a blank screen that says, what do you want to do today? Well, it shouldn't do that. It should come in and say, hey, we know you're in the middle of your renewal. Here's where we are. Here's the things that we've done. Here's the things that we still need to do. Help them align with that path and move forward through it. So help them get their job done faster, easier, quicker, simpler, all of those things.
Absolutely. And obviously technology provides a basis for building a lot of these experiences. And as I mentioned before, in the accelerating investment worldwide, 40% of people in my recent digital executive sentiment survey said that their companies are accelerating their digital investment. And then the data from our digital spending guide team says there'll be a 15% growth next year, roughly around 15% growth in digital spending with a slight drop on traditional, as I mentioned earlier. So what there's basically a fundamental shift here where companies are now building these digital experiences that you're talking about because of the expectation of their customers and expectation of their employees, expectation of their partners and their suppliers. They want these digital experiences, exactly what you said, that it's becoming so important to build out these technology platforms. And at IEC, we have a definition in my group for the digital business platform that companies are building out that then feeds up into these use cases that are used to build resilience, used to accelerate, build those advantages that companies can have. And so it requires these principles of experience-led intelligence, modular building out your technology in a modular way, looking at agile development, building trust and security, and of course, cloud. So those are how we've established principles. How does that align with how the approach that you've taken in building out your technology platform?
I think it's close. I think that we're in the same ballpark on those things. We talk about it as the first kind of pillar is digital transformation. So that aligns very well with what you're talking about. We believe that security is fundamental to everything. And so we've been really working hard to build zero trust and a lot of the technologies associated with security and making sure that those are a normal part, security by design versus just security as an add-on. So security is a big piece of it. We believe that data analytics are extremely critical to everything we do, that if you can't, analyze it and measure it and show what the result of the transformation initiatives are, that you're not very effective at it. So we've been building data lakes and data marts, and that's with the business too. And then the final piece of it is AI and automation. I mean, in other words, AI is part of it. As we've seen lately, AI is part of everything, but it's also about automation. It's about making all those mundane tasks automated, and so that the processes are very, very efficient, and that there's not a lot of time spent, the humans have to doing mundane tasks, that we've up-leveled the actual work that's being done in that whole realm. So those are the four pillars that we've been working off of to make sure that the initiatives that we're doing are successful.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And when you speak of AI and then security, I'm sure as you're implementing now AI and companies are moving to Gen AI, that security becomes so much more important for you.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, as I've talked to companies, building out that the trust within their AI programs, making sure that critical company data that they're putting into those AI algorithms is protected. You're getting responsible results. You're using them responsibly. Very important. And so, yeah, taking that having that pillar of security, having that pillar of AI, pillar of data, that's such a huge thing. We recently, from our survey data, we've done this scorecard, and one of the key pillars to building a digital business, we absolutely agree, is data capabilities, and what sets companies apart, especially when they're farther along their journeys, is building out that data capability. So it's great to hear that data is one of your pillars. So what I'd love to do now is hear about how you've built out that platform. What are your initiatives, and how have you moved in building out your technology platform that is now addressing these experience needs that you were seeking to address?
Yeah, I mean, we've taken very much a best of breed approach. We try to pick the right tools for the right job. We don't just do a whole lot of platform or a whole lot of one size fits all. We go find the solutions that make sense, and we're building an architecture around the best solutions we can find to go do that. A lot of that is built around customer experience. I talked about that a little bit earlier, but it's really, really important in terms of we're building, we want the customer to be able to take themselves on the journey in the way that they want to. So there's a lot of processes and systems that we built around making sure that the customer is empowered to get done. If they want a software demo, they can do it themselves. There's a free trial process that they then, through the free trial process, decide to purchase, there's an online purchasing option. And so we step them through the process and help them on that side. And that's a big piece of it. On the employee side, we believe employees ought to be as much self-service as possible. Everything the employee wants to do, they ought to be able to do digitally versus having to contact the HR department or contact other initiatives. We want everything to be self-service, and so that they can get the job done when they want, where they want. They can work anywhere they want to, and they can be on any platform they want to be, whether it's mobile or on their computer or anywhere anywhere it makes sense to them, they can be there and get their job done.
Great. And when we were discussing off camera earlier about some of the initiatives that you were doing, you mentioned something about personalized, contextualized interaction and 360-degree customer and client management. Can you speak a little bit more about those and how are they helping you build those experiences?
Sure. I mean, customer experience, as I said, is one of our key pillars too, in terms of the things that we really believe are important. And customer interaction and their contextualization of the customer experience is very important. I.e., as I talked a little bit before, but there's other examples of it. If a customer's in the middle of, say, a software renewal, and they're in the middle of this process, I don't want to just go present them a screen that says, what do you want to do today? I'll come in and say, hey, we see that you're in the middle of your renewal. We could help you through the rest of that process if you want to. Or if you're trying to do a customer support issue, here's another path you can take. So we're trying to define more pathways that they can go down and where they are in those pathways. So if they started down a particular pathway, we can just pick them up and send them down the rest of that pathway. So on the customer 360 side, we pull in the data. We're pulling in the data into a single system for all the customer interactions. So everything from support to their marketing activities. If they go read a white paper, we know what they do across all the different functions. We can tell what they're looking at, what they're we can't really tell what they're thinking, which we could, but we can tell what by their intent and the actions they're taking, what's going on and where they are and what they're doing, and then we can take actions to then do things associated with that. As an example, we can tell in the software, so a lot of our software is cloud-based, we can tell by what modules they're using and by what systems they're using, where they are, and say, hey, you're using this module, why don't you go use another module instead? Or there's this new feature we have that you haven't used yet. So we're looking at the things they're doing and what they're acting, of course, with privacy and all the other, security items in mind, but we are tracking, the things they're doing and what they're doing to help them on their journey and help them with what they're doing.
Great. And when I talked earlier about digital platform building up to these use cases to accelerate and build resilience, those two really sound like the opportunity to accelerate your business. Now, how do you think that they'd be able to have a 360-degree view for customer and client management, this personalized, contextualized interaction? How does that accelerate your business and give HCL an advantage?
Well, it helps by, we don't have to worry about people knowing about what's going on. So a good example is if a customer's having a problem, they've created a support case. Well, the salespeople get alerted that this customer has created a support case. So they know that if they're going to go talk to that customer, say in the next, the day after they've had a technical support problem, they know about that. So they're not surprised. They don't go into the conversation saying, hi, how are you doing? They go, hi, I see you've had a problem yesterday, and I know what's going on. Is there something else I can do to help you? So it changes the nature of the conversation from I'm completely blind going into, say, a call with the customer to now I know what's going on. Now I know what's happening across all the different pieces of the business, and I can tell, oh, you went and read, our white paper that we just published, and so these things rather than having to ask, have you read the white paper? It's easier just to say, hey, we saw you read that, and then, hey, we can suggest another white paper you might want to be interested in based on what you just read. So having that 360 view is extremely important to be able to both leverage what's going on and have the customer partner better with you at the end of the day.
Yeah, and you're not only allowing your employee to work more efficiently, not having to go back and have conversations that the customer's already had. The customer's happier because they don't have to repeat themselves. So that's where the acceleration comes from, is your customers themselves are happier and your employee is more successful. They're more efficient. So we discussed the initiatives that you're using to accelerate your business, but of course, building resilience is important too. So I know when we talked off camera, you mentioned some initiatives that you're undertaking to build resilience within HCL. So these were things like automatic operations. You also mentioned smart warehousing and maybe some stories of how you've done that in the past at Actian. And then, of course, remote team enablement, which you mentioned earlier. I'd love to hear more about how you are building more resilience within HCL.
Well, I mean, one of the most important things for a customer is reliability, right? I mean, to a great extent, we're running a lot of customer workloads, we're running a lot of customer environments, and one of the main things is, the aspect of technology as being a utility. You want the power on to be on all the time. You don't want power outages. You don't want downtime. So we've been doing a lot of process automation around our customer-facing cloud environments, such that we are making sure that we get that high level of resiliency, that high level of uptime, so that we don't have those issues. I mean, we have several retail customers. I mean, it's Christmas time now, and so that's super important that those systems don't go down. I mean, that we can process, these somewhat transitory workloads. I mean, at a Christmas holiday time, the workloads can go from zero to an extremely large number of transactions within minutes, and so we need to be able to manage those effectively for our customers to make sure they're in process automation and systems automation around those things. When we see something going on, having the system automatically correct are extremely important to that in terms of the resiliency of it. And so during the pandemic, one of the things that we really put into place was we wanted to be sure that we'd already started this pre-pandemic, and that a lot of our employees are remote. They were remote before the pandemic, but the pandemic just kind of hammered all that out to where we said people should be able to do their job anywhere they want to do their job in whatever environment they want to. So we have PCs, we have Macs, we have people using tablets. They're located all around the world. Some of them are in offices, some of them aren't. During the pandemic, obviously no one was in offices, but we were very effective about the capability of being able to support those employees in their work environment wherever they were. And so the day the pandemic started, we sent everyone home, and we didn't have to worry about the fact that it was going to work. I mean, obviously we worried a little bit because we hadn't had everybody on all at the same time, but we'd already built the infrastructure out to support that. And so it was a fairly easy transition. And that's been one of our hallmarks within our technology environment, is to be able to make sure that those employees can be productive anywhere.
And how have your employees responded to this, enabling them to be able to do their work wherever they are?
It's actually, we were a little concerned about it at first, because we said, are people really going to be, are the employees really going to be able to be as productive out of the office and in? We actually found out that our productivity went up. I'm not sure all that was healthy at the end of the day, because we were missing some of the social interaction and some of the other pieces that the workplace provides it. But a programmer, it depends on what they're doing. If they're doing we're doing a lot of collaborative activities that were fairly, they were creating new solutions, it was a bit more problematic. But for those, programmers that were more doing, bug fixes and sustaining engineering, it was actually really, really productive. And we found out that lo and behold, the productivity increased. But, post-pandemic, we said, hey, how do we do innovation now? So now we're having to kind of backtrack a little bit and say, what technologies are best to support innovative activity, and how do we go about that? And so we moved a bit to more of a hybrid environment. We're having people get together more often. There's a bit more travel involved than there was before, but we're doing that to make sure we keep that level of innovation moving forward.
And that's very important. Innovation is a key characteristic of a digital business. Like, constantly innovating, be able to build new digital business models. How do you set up that ability to innovate, and how important is your digital business platform, your technology platform, to enable that?
I mean, I think they go hand in hand. I think that part of being effective is that digital piece of it. Part of it is creating, a less overhead environment, making everything move towards being self-service and being more self-supportive on the employee side. I mean, at the end of the day, engineers have got to work the way they want to work. So some of the things we do actually, improves that. Some of the things they do are still the same things that they're probably doing now, they'll be doing in the future, in that they've got to get into collaborative environments and be able to work. So all the tooling that we put into place, we run the Google workspace environment internally. That helps a lot in terms of being able to meet and instantly do things and have chat and all those other things. We also use Slack a lot. So, the Slack piece of that is also fairly interesting to us. us, and that we can channel things up and do machine channels and things like that too. So it's a bit of a combination of things. The platform helps, but it's also some other tooling also contributes to that.
Yeah, and I'm sure having the right tools, it really helps with recruiting and retention when it comes to hiring the top talent for innovating your engineers all the way up to any employee, really.
100%. Yes, it helps a whole bunch. I mean, retention is a big part of that. That's why we were focused so diligently now on employee experience, and we really want to take it to the next level to really make it to where it becomes a part of. I mean, it almost becomes a benefit to the employee. And then that you have the right tooling and the capabilities to go do that, like your 401k or something else. It should be right up there with that in terms of the ability to do your job and make it easy to do your job.
Yeah, because we really, I've seen that companies, one of their barriers to digital is getting the right digital skills in their organization. And so you see these companies that are farther along on their digital journeys are then able to better recruit and retain that talent that is necessary to innovate. And so it's great to hear that HCL is doing that and making that a priority.
And it kind of feeds on itself, as you said, as you become more digitally oriented, those things kind of come more naturally. So it's kind of a bit cyclical and it builds as you move along. It is a great thing. I agree with you 100%, Craig.
Yeah, because it's absolutely becoming a digital business is as much about culture and about a set of principles as it is about the technology platform that you're putting in place.
100% agree.
Well, I've loved hearing about HCL and what you've been doing digitally. What I'd love to also hear from you is what are some of the lessons learned, the key takeaways, where you see quick wins and how to get started for other companies that may be watching this.
Good point. I think there's two or three that one is architecture is extremely important. You've got to really think hard about what you're trying to achieve and why you're doing it up front. So you need to spend a lot of time and energy on architecture and making sure that what you're designing fits well together and it isn't just, you're cobbling pieces together. We're doing a best of breed approach, which means we need to do a lot of thinking about how systems integrate and talk to each other. You need to make sure as I said earlier, we put our analytics up front. So I think that having your analytics help feed and do feedback along the way is very, very important because if you don't design for somewhat the measures and the KPIs and the things that you want to go do, then you don't think about those up front. Well, then if you put them on as an afterthought, they're not part of how you design it and how you set it up. Also very, very important. Making sure you get the right tooling obviously is very, very important. In the AI world, there's a lot of options out there. So same thing holds true there, is that you got to think about what your use cases are and how you set up for those use cases and making sure you get the right technologies that support those. And in AI, a lot of it, as you said, is talk about generative AI, but there's also machine learning and a lot of other things that feed into these processes that don't get the headlines today, but are extremely important in making things work well. And then the last piece is, as I said also earlier, security needs to be security by design. You've got to think about security from the first day you start doing your digital transformation all the way through to the last day, because it's so important to everything we do. We've seen too many, instances out in the world where companies have had significant security failures, and we want to make headlines for those kinds of things. We don't want to be in that world. So we definitely spend a lot of time and energy looking, thinking, feeling what security means to us and how to go about implementing security from zero trust all the way through to privacy and GDPR and those types of things in terms of the overall environment.
Yeah, absolutely. Setting up these foundational elements of trust, security, data, that's how you build an effective innovation program that also allows you to be resilient and also, following regulation is very important. And that becomes a cost saving measure in itself, of course. So great. Thanks, Stephen. I've really appreciated all the learnings you've given me today, and it's great education for myself. And so I'd love to bring Barbara back on as well.
All right. Thank you, Craig. So great conversation. I just want to wrap up with one last question for both of you. Can you give our viewers some advice about first steps or quick wins? Stephen, let's start with you.
First steps and quick. Well, like I said, first step is you need to make sure you understand the real scope and the level of involvement for everyone in terms of what you're doing. So you need, commitment from the top down. You need to have everyone from the executives all the way down to the managers, down to the employees, understanding where you're going and what you're trying to achieve. You need to, I don't know whether that's a quick win because it takes a while to do all these things. Digital transformation is hard to kind of succeed at with really true quick wins. But I think you can have early wins. I think you try to go focus on the problems that make the most difference to you. You try to go focus on the things that will make your customers' lives easier. And so you prioritize the set of activities around what you think will achieve the most. And I think that's the way you get quick wins, is not necessarily by focusing on little areas where, there's apples there to go, pick, but you go try to pick, a bushel of apples that make sense to solve a customer problem or solve an employee problem.
All right. Thank you, Stephen. Craig, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I think Stephen's point and his lessons on quick wins is important. And those are important to take away because those quick wins help build trust in transitioning to digital within your organization, with your leadership, showing that moving digital provides results. Because what we see as digital business is a key characteristic is there's top-down approach to digital, taking a digital first strategy from the CEO on down. So you need to offer up some results on how digital will work in your organization, and looking at those quick wins that Stephen provided, very important.
All right. Thank you both. That was great. That's all the time we have for today. I'd like to thank my guests, Stephen Padgett from HCLSoftware and Craig Powers from IDC. Thank you both. And thanks to our audience for joining us. For CIO and HCLSoftware, I'm Barbara Call.